This Coca-Cola right here may or may not include some sort of whiskey. Now, if it did include some whiskey, it would most likely be either Jack Daniels or Southern Comfort, both of which are American products. And of course, Coca-Cola, also an American product. Yet, over here in the UK, I do not actually need US dollars to purchase any of this stuff. And it is super tasty. However, here in the UK, US dollars are completely and utterly useless, and that goes the same wherever you are in the world. If you're not living in America, then why do you want to trade to make US dollars? So that was point number one of the 3 reasons why I do not trade for US dollars, and you should not too. In fact, if you want to take your sort of crypto trading career, if that's what you call it, professionally, then you really don't want to be trading for US dollars either. You need to trade in Bitcoin pairs. And as I just highlighted there, if you're not American, what are you doing trading for US dollars anyway? Who cares what US dollars is worth? Do you know how much your house is currently valued in US dollars? Do you know what your car is worth in US dollars? If you're not American, chances are no. So why do you care what XRP is in US dollars or anything like that? And that takes us swiftly into point number 2, which is all about how to know whether or not you are actually making a profit. So there are times, and no doubt maybe you've already noticed, when everything seems to be going up in US dollars. So maybe you're in a coin like XRP, Litecoin, Engine Coin, maybe Chainlink, and in US dollar terms it seems to be going up. Maybe it's going up like 4 or 5%. However, when you have a look at the Bitcoin chart, it's actually going down. So yes, it's true. You may actually be making some gains in this devaluing paper currency. However, you're not actually really increasing in value. For this simple reason that you really need to grasp this and understand. If the coin that you're investing in is going down in Bitcoin but up in US dollars, that means that you would actually be far better off just putting all of that cash into Bitcoin, which is actually going up more against the US dollar rather than those smaller altcoins. So if ever you're in a time when that is happening, you are actually losing money. That right there is a super important point that you really need to understand when you're trading with crypto, is the fact that you really need to start trading in Bitcoin pairs rather than US dollar pairs, because with US dollar pairs, you're looking at the chart, it's an illusion. It looks like you're making money. I used to do this all the time. I always used to trade in US dollar pairs. Now I've seen the light, and you should too. Okay, and point number 3. Yes, so the US dollars, as I alluded to earlier on, is a devaluing paper currency. It's getting worth less and less and less every single year. In fact, since 1972, I believe it was, when President Nixon took the paper dollar off of the gold standard, which meant that where right then, you could buy 1 ounce of gold for about $20 or $30, whatever it was. I wasn't actually born back then. However, as of right now, I believe the price of gold is actually well up over $2,000 now per ounce. So it has gained a lot in value since 1972. So I'd have to ask you this, just how is it that gold has managed to increase in value over that time? Also, since the 1970s, house prices have also been going up all the time. And how is it that today human beings seem to value living in 4 walls with a roof over their head a lot more, substantially more, than they used to back in the 70s? Of course, it's absolutely ludicrous, right? The value of a house is the same. In fact, I did a study a few years ago looking at the average house prices here in the UK and the price of gold, so valuing houses in gold rather than cash, and I just went back like 100 or so years, and what I found was that the average house price here in the UK was roughly about 230, 240 ounces of gold. And I did that every single 10 years through history, and pretty much That's exactly what it is to this day. So if you want to buy the average English house, it will cost you about 230, 240 ounces of gold. Houses and gold are not worth more than they used to be. They are worth exactly the same as they've always been worth. It's the value of the US dollar and other currencies which are now backed by the US dollar because they don't have their own gold reserves. After the Second World War, the US dollar, because it had all the gold after the war, all the gold from the British Empire and everything it took from Europe, they had all the gold, and that meant that the US dollar was backed by actual real gold, and then all the other currencies in the world would then be backed by US dollars. But when that all changed in the 1970s, temporarily, but actually ended up forever.
Good evening. Addressed the nation a number of times over the past 2 years on the problems of ending a war. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Ever since then, paper money has been worth less and less and less all the time. Now, on the other hand, today we have Bitcoin, and I'm pretty sure you're well aware that Bitcoin is just like gold in as much as it is fairly rare. So we know that there's only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be in existence. And so as cryptocurrencies do become more and more mainstream and Bitcoins get more and more in demand, there is only so much supply, which means that the price will go up more and more and more every single year. So you have to ask yourself, do you think that this time next year or this time in 5 years or 10 years time, do you think Bitcoin will be worth more in dollars? Or do you think that the US dollar is going to increase in value? Which one do you think is going to be increasing in value? Comment down below. I'd be surprised if anyone thinks that the US dollar is going to increase in value. But yeah, comment down below and let me know your thoughts on that. So that is really point number 3. But I've got one more interesting little tip to share with you guys. But before I do, let's just have a quick recap. So number 1, I am not American and I have no use for US dollars. If I had $50 or $100 here right now, I cannot spend it in a shop. I could even go to friends and family and most of them would be exactly the same. If I wanted to give them $100, maybe some of them would say yes and accept it just for a sort of novelty, but they can't spend it either. And I'm sure pretty much wherever you live, that's most likely the case too, unless you do live in the States. However, if I was to ask any of my friends or family if they wanted me to give them like $100 worth of Bitcoin, absolutely, they'll have your arm off. So US dollars is only spendable in the US, whereas Bitcoin is a worldwide global currency. Number 2 was tracking real profits. So if you're tracking it based in US dollars, then you can think that you're making money, although it can look like you are gaining ground in US dollars. In terms of Bitcoin, you can be falling at the same time. So you'd have been better off just having everything in Bitcoin at those times. So to really avoid any of that and having to back check and look back and forth, it's just plain easier if you just trade based in Bitcoin rather than US dollars in the first place. And number 3, of course, what actually holds real value long term? What is going to be worth more in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years time, Bitcoin or US dollars? Is the US dollar going to gain in value or is Bitcoin going to gain in value? Which one do you want at the end of the day? Do you want more Bitcoin or do you want more paper money US dollars? Okay, and now for this one interesting little tip. What you can see here is £1 coin. So you see the Queen's head on there. This is a £1 coin here in the UK. It is actually completely worthless. However, it does currently have the value of £1. But £1 of what? Have you ever heard the term British pound sterling and wondered why they call it British pound sterling? And do you know who this is right here? This here is Queen Victoria, and this coin is a gold sovereign. The new £1 coin replaces the old gold sovereign. So the gold sovereign used to be called £1, and that pound was worth £1 of sterling silver, i.e. £1 sterling. So £1 is about 500 grams of silver that you can get today. So with that, rather than having to carry around these big bars of silver, instead you could have one of these, a pound. This is worth roughly £1 of sterling silver. And if you go to a website right now today and have a look at about £1, which is about 500 grams of silver, and you have a look at the price of one of these gold coins, they are in and around the same type of price even to this day. Now, my granddad, he used to tell me stories about when they switched from what he called real money and replaced it with this nonsense money, and would say about how everybody got ripped off and all of that. And as a kid, I never really understood what he was talking about, whereas today, it makes perfect sense. Everyone got ripped off, and the banks got to keep everybody's actual real gold and started handing out this rubbish right here. Of course, this right now is worth a lot more than one of these modern day £1 nonsense pieces of currency, which is really worth nothing at all. Well, I do hope that you've learnt something new here today. If you have, please give a like and a subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you're new to cryptocurrency investing, trading, and you want to know more about that type of thing, then you can come over to our website, mitri.ninja, and learn more about all the different tools that we have for cryptocurrency investors over there. That's it for me. I shall see you in the next video.